the Las Vegas Raiders can improve to 3-0 and, in all likelihood will still be one of the 2 unbeaten teams in the AFC if they do that. They're playing the Miami Dolphins, who, full disclosure, I wanted to take the Raiders -4 as a lock of the week. Not wanted to, I shouldn't say that. Considered it more than you. But I think in your defense, like the Dolphins, even though they've got some flaws offensively with their quarterback situation, they are a good defense. And this would be another, just like week 1 and week 2, pretty impressive win for the Raiders. This is another team that people looked at, just like the first 2 teams they played, as a playoff team in 2021.
They are missing one of their advantages that they would have won the game if the guy would have stayed in last year into a Tonga Vailoa.
Get in our DraftKings game. Sign up with the code HAM. The link is below. Go get in it.
Yep, promo code HAM. Also, mybookie.ag. You want to gamble this weekend? Use the promo code HAM1. Play some bets. Who is not going to play this week? Espinosa. Do you know that guy's like 6'5", 280? The guy that landed on him? I was like, no wonder you couldn't see Tua, because that guy is massive. So you might want to block the guy that's 6'5", 280 coming at your little quarterback. I tweeted out earlier this week, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but not really. Who would the Raiders rather play? Jacoby Brissett, who, listen, he's not, a great player by any means. He's an average starter at best historically, but he's played in a lot of games. He has a lot of experience, and he has won NFL football games where he has been the starting quarterback for multiple weeks back to back to back. Or Tua, who before Espinosa landed on him, clearly looked a little bit over his head, who they personally had success against last year. So my first thought was like, that Tua injury, not ideal. Like if the Raiders could choose Tua or Jacoby, I think they choose Tua. Do you agree there? Could be argued. Like, I don't think it's like black and white.
I
like
do think
Rodgers,
they would take Tua.
Tim Boyle.
The reason I hesitate is because I do think the Dolphins' offensive line has trouble. They're making a switch at left guard. That guy, Liam Eichenberg, that we thought the 49ers wanted from Notre Dame, is going to start at left guard. He had already started at left tackle because Austin Jackson, week 1, was not back from the COVID list in time. And then last week they had a disaster on their hands when the undrafted free agent, whoever the guy at right tackle from Idaho is, couldn't. In fairness, AJ Epinesa is a very good player.
Yeah,
very good player. But my point is, if you thought Tua was athletic enough to get away from NFL pass rushers, you might think, you know what, Max Crosby coming off that edge, I need a more mobile quarterback.
Tua's more. Jacoby's a bad athlete.
Then Jacoby. That is the one thing that makes me hesitate. Is like when Max Crosby comes flying around the left edge, is Jacoby Brissett going to be able to get away from him? And you'd say, well, would Tua be able to? The answer might be no on both accounts. So you're right. After thinking it through, I think they'd rather play Tua. The Raiders
on a big picture standpoint, when the schedule came out, we thought, and I think most people thought, beside Raider fans, the Raiders are probably staring at 0-2. Right? I mean, the Steelers, even with Ben is now hurt. He's got a pec injury. You see that? But they hurt him. But definitely the Ravens game, even though it was at home, that was viewed as very hard. And it was, but they won it. And then obviously they won last week. And they're 2-0, which is, to me, and I guess we talked about this earlier in the week, it's got to be one of the bigger shockers. Not that we didn't think the Raiders would be competitive, because their offense has been really good. And if their defense just tackled a little bit, they could compete to get to 10 wins. But to win those 2 games in this league, win or lose, no one gives a shit how you do it, who's healthy, who's hurt, who you played. Like, they beat Ben and they beat Lamar. And now they're staring at a team who's kind of reeling right now, who has a legit fatal flaw. Because we've seen it. You just go back to Harbaugh's last year. When you have a fatal offensive line flaw in a tackle or just a key opening in your offensive line that you like, I would do anything to replace this guy. When I was in Philly my second year, Jason Peters tore his Achilles, at least what I was told. It might not have been in his kitchen. It wasn't good, and he missed the season. And we just had to get some random guy, but we couldn't replace him. And when you can't replace a really good player at tackle or can't find good offensive linemen, it ruins everything you have. Like, unless you have Rodgers or Mahomes, you cannot overcome it. And like even Mahomes, once they played a really good team in the Super Bowl, like you can't overcome it. So to me, if their offensive line is clearly, let's just say it becomes one of the worst units in the league. Like we look back at the end of the season, the Dolphins win 6 or 7 games, and they go, we had a bottom 5 offensive line. That would be understandable why you suck, right? You cannot have a bad offensive line without an all-star quarterback and consistently contend. You just can't, because too many teams like Max Crosby will kill you.
Yeah, and it might be that kind of the Andy Dalton theory, right? The explanation for starting Andy was the offensive line sucks. Put a guy behind it that at least maybe can make quicker decisions than a rookie. Tua's not a rookie, but maybe in some ways you'd rather have, to your point, him back there because of that. But regardless of who you'd rather have, either way, I'd say the same thing. The Raiders should win this football game.
Well, they're favored, and I think they should too. Now, the one thing to keep an eye on this week, the Dolphins' strength, Xavier Howard, who they inherited. They didn't, but he was already on the team. He's a really good corner. And Byron Jones, who they signed from the Cowboys. Like, they just have a couple good DBs. And the Raiders' strength, I would say, through the first couple games, those 2 wide receivers that they drafted last year look pretty sweet. And it's actually like the perfect kind of ebb and flow. One guy's a big, strong kind of playmaker over the middle. The other guy's one of the fastest guys in the league. Like, I mean, I'm watching Edwards and Ruggs and go, those guys are sweet. Well, when you got good DBs, can you just neutralize them a little bit? Jacobs, last I saw yesterday, he didn't practice. Like he might not play this week. So, they signed Kenyon Drake to some money. He's a good player, but if you can't throw the ball as consistently, now you always have Waller. Can the Raiders just win a low-scoring game? And I think eventually, kind of like they did last week, right? It was just a physical. Derek made a couple plays, and that was really the difference in the game. Rewatching, because watching the Niner game, I wasn't as locked as on the Raiders. Derek made a couple throws that weren't like touchdowns or whatever, that were just like, damn, that looked like Derek of the Musgrave MVP type year. He hit this one down like just the seam to Renfro that was like he had a little time. Renfro was probably 20 yards down the field. Derek's probably 7 or 8 yards behind it, so it's a 30-yard strike. Whoof! And Renfro kind of had to jump, and it was just like, that's a high-level fucking play.
Yeah.
Derek's got some mojo going.
He's done it now 2 weeks in a row.
Just to let it rip, and you're like, God, this is the Derek that I remember when he's playing well. This is what it looks like.
Yeah, he's done the wow, only 5 other guys in the league can make that throw, multiple throws in back-to-back weeks. Look,
like Kyle would die to have Jimmy be able to do that. I mean, he just doesn't have the arm.
He would do that trade right now. The Dolphins got a lot of credit for like Sam Hinkieing it up, but the picks have to hit, and the offensive line thing's a problem. They drafted Jalen Phillips over Gregory Rousseau. Rousseau's got 3 sacks for the Bills. Phillips has played 40 snaps on the defensive line.
Was he the concussion UCLA Miami
UCLA transfer, retirement transfer? Yeah.
Had played like 6 years, but was still young. It was kind of weird. Or was he old?
I thought he
was like 24. Maybe you're right. I thought he was like, how is this guy 22? He's been in college football for like 7 years.
We're glad you're watching our video. Give it a like and subscribe to this channel.
You know that more than 50% of you are not subscribed? Do that right now.
We're sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
Also, podcast below in the description.
Jalen Phillips, 1 spot after Leatherwood, 22 years old. Yeah.
How about Austin Jackson? I mean, I remember that being pretty like, whoa, didn't see that one coming, right?
Because that was a developmental pick, but very high.
They took him like 19. It's like, what are we doing here?
So this is another one where it's just a full credit win. And then guess what? The next week, the Raiders play another team that is just a full credit win. The LA Chargers in LA.
If you had to pick one of these next 2 games to win, you would clearly pick the Charger game because it's a divisional game. And I don't think Miami is going to compete to win the playoffs as currently constructed.
Right.
But that's not the way teams like, well, I want to win this week and I want to win next week. It is, if you start 3-0 going into that game, regardless what the Chargers do against the Chiefs, that game will be pretty hyped because like the whole storyline will be like, is Gruden and the Raiders for real? And I think the answer would be, I don't know how good their defense is. Baldy, I saw tweeted out a couple days ago, a picture of, the all 22. And the safety they drafted from TCU was just, way back, right, where a safety would be. Jonathan Abram was basically a yard behind the linebackers, and Baldy was like, you can see the Gus Bradley influence right here. The dude is up closer to the line of scrimmage, and it was like a quick out route from Ben to either Juju or one of the wide receivers, and Abram was just close, and it was boom, he fucked him up, and he caught the ball, but it was like, Baldy's like, this is why they went to this defense. If you can resurrect and make Jonathan Abram a productive player, which he has not been because he's been such a big hole, right? He's been giving up so many plays. If he can just help you win, that's a huge element. They do need to me, though, for them to really be successful, Jacobs is a blue chipper for them, right? Like when they play games and Jacobs is healthy, he's always one of the better players on the field.
Right. Yeah.
So to me, for them to maximize their ability, because ultimately their defense, while playing much better, still is not, the 85 Bears of personnel. But their offense, when healthy, can be. Because Jacobs a blue chipper, Waller's a blue chipper, Derek's playing like a Pro Bowler, and those wide receivers just have Renfro's a big-time slot guy, and the other guys, one guy has size and the other guy has elite speed. Like, that is a pretty unreal unit, skill-wise.
It's pretty, I would call it even complete.
Kenyon Drake
complete.
is your backup running back? I mean, that's some pretty low. Yeah, it's complete.
It says complete. I mean, it's complete. It has no holes.
Hater.
You're the hater. I've heard a few coaches say this. I'm sure you have. I don't ever want to hear in a meeting about what a player can't do. Right? And to me, what you just described with Jonathan Abram
it's like, hey, coach, you can't run. So, what do you want me to
we put him by the line of scrimmage and we make him a middle linebacker. Yeah, can't run is a problem. But in other words, like, he's on our team. So how are we going to put him in position to succeed?
Not just on our team. We invested, Amari into him.
We invested, yeah.
So that's a positive.
Yeah, Amari, I forget to mention you. Good point.